the recommendation for a new authority to address gender-based violence. I'm Clint Watson. The stories ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
A customs officer from Grand Bahama facing weapons and ammunition charges before the court.
And a red carpet affair at the Atlantis Resort this weekend. The Bahamas tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
A government-appointed task force has recommended the establishment of a gender-based violence authority. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
I'm Kishla Adderley. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Topping the news, the recommendation comes as crime continues to impact the country. It's believed that the crime of gender-based violence is linked to many of the criminal elements and social ills. The task force on gender-based violence presented its report to the nation's leader today. The document includes 2 years of work by the cross-section of the community and calls for immediate implementation as a major deterrent to crime. Here's Clint Watson.
It's a crime that's been spiraling out of control in the Bahamas, yet the silence in disclosing its vicious effects on families continues to be protected by victims who fear speaking out. Gender-based violence, also known as GBV, has been a key component in the root cause of the breakup of families and its contribution to crime. And now the task force established by Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie back in 2013 has completed its 2-year research and come up with facts on the issue and recommendations to eradicate this form of crime. GBV is manifested in physical, sexual, and mental violence or abuse. These areas include sexual assault, intimate partner violence, sexual harassment, incest, and child abuse. It's manifested predominantly as violence against women, also against men and children. Chairperson retired Justice Ruby Nottage detailed the findings, but more importantly outlined the recommendations. Leading that list is the establishment of the GBV Authority.
The authority will be charged with the oversight and monitoring of all GBV initiatives. It will be a bottoms-up institution with suggestions and proposals coming from our communities, from the very people in the heart of our communities who know the pain and who are best able to implement the cure. The authority will consist of a board of directors who are the policymakers and a secretariat who are the implementers.
The report proposes 10 initiatives that government can immediately implement by June. These involve intervention for children exposed to violence, boys, batterers program, and response teams. Additionally, the proposal calls for the immediate creation of a family court and strengthening of the judiciary. At this point, no new laws will need to be created.
It has been suggested that existing legislation be either expanded, amplified, updated. We do have the Domestic Violence Protection Orders Act. Some aspects of that deal specifically with intimate partner violence. It needs to be expanded to include violence from any sort of gender-based violence. And so that's the sort of amendment process.
Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie says this effort opens up an issue that has been kept in the dark for far too long.
But if we intend to put a serious dent in our crime problem, we really have to strengthen the family as a unit and empower the family to socialize our children to be the kind of citizens that we need them to be. I am therefore happy to say that there will be established a Department of Family and Gender Affairs, and that the plans for the family court that you've just heard about are well advanced. Both of these will help us to achieve our goals. I'm also pleased to say that there will be a program to address children who have been exposed to violence, whether that violence is domestic or community-based.
Now, additional meetings have been planned in the coming months to address the implementation process to ensure that these recommendations are actually put to use. At the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
The Gender-Based Violence Task Force also noted that a big challenge with reported GBV crimes is the silence and shame associated with the incidents. It's believed that many victims are afraid to report their perpetrators. In light of this, Prime Minister Christie issued this challenge to the police chief.
Commissioner, you put out a daily report from your police force, and I would trust in all of the circumstances that you will emphasize gender-based violence in that report, and so that those people who indulge in it, and some of whom we least expect to be involved in this kind of behavior, will understand that it is a crime and that the law enforcement officers of the country will be treating it as such as we move forward.
Even when women come forward to complain that they've been beaten, battered, and the bruises are there to show that their own family members would make interventions to prevent them going through the court system. And the family members of the perpetrators are even more aggressive in reaching out to victims and trying to get them to recant.
3 men appeared in magistrate's court today on a murder charge. 25-year-old David Burrows, 25-year-old Renato Bastian, and 21-year-old Lothario Davis are accused of killing 28-year-old Kieran Dean near Landshark Hotel on West Bay Street last week. The 3 were not required to enter a plea and were remanded to the Department of Corrections. They are expected back in court on April 15th. A customs officer also facing some serious charges before the courts in connection with possession of firearms and ammunition on Grand Bahama. 35-year-old Chirago Dames pleaded not guilty and was released on $10,000 bail. Police say on February 9th he was found in possession of 41 rounds of ammunition and a Glock .40 pistol. The accused also has to comply with reporting conditions, and he returns to court on Thursday. Just last week, 31-year-old Rajiv Dames and his wife Katina were charged before the courts in connection with a big weapons find on Grand Bahama last weekend. They are accused of having in their possession a number of high-powered guns and ammunition with intent to supply. They also returned to court on Thursday.
It's time for your weekly poll. Last week's poll question asked, should the Bahamas do more to assist with the current crisis in Haiti? 27% of you voted yes, 66% voted no, and 7% had no opinion. This week's poll question asks, are gender-based crimes in the Bahamas hush-hush? You can go to www.znsbahamas.com to vote yes, no, or no opinion. The results will be released on Monday.